Well, hello, friends and neighbors. It's a great smoky, peaty time down here in the Nook. And why is that? Well, James dropped off this Laphroaig Càirdeas, the Lore Cask Strength edition. I believe that's the 2025 edition. And I have poured it out on the short. So we are going to get into this. We're going to talk big, bold Laphroaig. I actually quite enjoy the lore. I don't have it with me. And I'm really just going to give you my best thoughts on this release. And then we will compare it to the Laphroaig Sherry Oak. Why? This is a little bit more affordable. It's a little bit more available. Yes, it's about 10% weaker, but this is still all the Laphroaig. So pour something. And if you want to be in the same area as me, it's got to be Islay. It's got to be Scotch. Obviously from Islay, it needs to be something peated. A Laphroaig would be best. Pour it and let's get into this whiskey together. 3, 4. Okay, well, welcome back. We're going to talk about this Laphroaig Càirdeas. It's the Lore Cask Strength. It's the 2025 edition. And I have to say, these Càirdeas editions have been amazing for me. Last year's, was it Cask Favorites? I believe that was last year's. I really enjoyed. Lore is, I believe, quite a bit of casking. It's very sherry influenced, but I think it's like first and second fill sherry. Maybe it's just first fill sherry and it's first and second fill bourbon, ex-bourbon cask, and it also has quarter cask. So, the Lore, my memory, sadly, that's all I've got, was just a beautiful dram. But what's interesting is I can get Lore in my market, but it's about $190. This is about $160. So the Lore Cask Strength or the regular Lore, this is less, like $30 less. And I'm not talking any sales. I'm talking just go online and look it up. I don't know. This is that 59.6%. All those casks, it's going to be smoky and peaty. It's been opening up for actually probably about half an hour. I had some tech stuff. So this is going to be a big dram, a big pour. Let's get into the nose on this one. The nose is classic Laphroaig, lots of smoke, bit of salt. I get a bit of orange citrus. Like there's some sweetness in their malt, but it's heavy smoke already, and it's like smolder ash smoke. And there is sweetness. There is dark things. There are leathered fruits. There are just this dark sherried fruits mixed in with all that smolder. It gives an impression of oily. We'll see when I get into there. It does say on the package, this is non-chill filtered, which is wonderful. I can assume it's colored later when I compare the two. They're probably both colored, but the sherry oak looks more sherry. So that feels good. This looks dark though, like it is a sherried Scotch. I just wish they'd be natural color and proudly share that. There are some nuts in here, some Christmas nuts. That's like, is it a little bit more bitter like a hazelnut, or is it or oily like a walnut? It's all of those Christmas nuts. This is a great dram. Let's get into it together. Hope you've got something. Sláinte. Has all kinds of flavor, but all kinds of bold. This is not a timid dram. This should be dialed in with some water, in my opinion. But at cask strength, it's a beauty. We are way deep into some nice fig, prune. Fig because there's sweetness in there, pithy. Prune because there is leathered red fruits. I'm still staying with just a variety of nuts and oils. I really like the feel of it in the mouth. You can tell I'm enjoying this. And I had a tiny sip just trying it on the short, and it already just filled my palate with now some sultana raisins, a little more juicy. Well, raisins are dried up, but like those typical raisins that I say are bigger and a little more juicy than just little hard ones. It definitely has some bitter oils, some bitter nuts. I'm still getting a little bit of orange, just a little bit of orange citrus, not sharp vanilla, sharp lemon, but some orange. This is really, really good. You know, I confess I have watched Jeff from G Whiskey. He's hilarious. You should go check him out. And when he shot this, you know, he mentioned that did it remind him or he should shoot it against, I can't remember, but he didn't do a direct comparison against this. But I want to let you know that is my reason for doing this. This feels, just like Jeff said, bigger than the last Càirdeas. I mean, that's memory. Memory comparisons are the worst. This is really, really good. In fact, if I can, James, I think I'm going to shoot this against like Ardbeg Ugadale because I have that on the shelf. And I just want to see, because they're both Islay products. They're both cask strength. That would be a good one. Should you get this? If you like what I just said, cask strength, Laphroaig, yes. Especially sherried. There's a sherried forward profile. And in my market, like $160 is a lot of money. And you know that I rarely spend that kind on a bottle, but I would. This is a solid choice. I'm not going to rate it. I haven't had it long enough, but it's fantastic. Well, as I said, we need to compare it to this, the Laphroaig sherry cask. Man, I can't even remember what it's called. But what's nice is, you know, this one has a 10-year-old age stamp, and it clearly has, you know, some ex-bourbon, and it's finished in sherry. It's, I think, a 48%. Boy, I should look up these percents, but I feel like it's a 48%. I can't recall if this one's non-chill filtered as well, but it would be, you know, probably colored. Sherry oak cask finished 10-year-old. Now, even though I say, you know, this one has an age stamp, and well, it does. And this one doesn't, Lore doesn't, but, you know, it doesn't take a lot of searching to find out that Lore, the typical Lore, not a cask strength, has just a huge variety from, I think they said somewhere from 7-year to 21-year-old. That's just some internet stuff, but usually there's some grain of truth. So let's look at this. This is the sherry oak finish. It is a lighter percentage, so I've taken a few sips to really try to clear out my palate. Although it's Laphroaig, I'm still tasting that. Let's try it on the nose. Just on the nose. And on the nose, the Lore is darker, a little more nut, a little more smolder. This is brighter. This is a little higher sweetness. This has less orange, maybe a bit of lemon. Definitely sweet cherry, but a little more raspberry, strawberry, a little more berry. This is a little more leathered. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. This is definitely leathered dried fruits, and this is a little fresher. Let's try this one on the palate. This is the 10-year sherry oak finish. Sláinte. I'm going to say it stays brighter and sweeter. I'm going to say it actually does evoke a little more of that red berry. I don't want to lead you astray, though. This is still all the smoke and ash, a little bit of that, you know, iodine, not a little bit. There's iodine in here, that, you know, medicinal. Band-Aid sounds negative, but that kind of peat. So, like, both of these have that. But it is sweeter, it is more berry, it is less leathered. There's a little bit of bitterness. I'm going to try another sip. Sláinte? Not in that one. That one got me a little, I don't want to say this because it sounds negative when you're talking sherry scotch, but almost a little grape, like a little more of that full red grape note. So this is brighter, still punchy, but it almost has, like, if I could, I'm going to say it has more edges. And I mentioned, like, it's a 10-year-old scotch, but it's got a little more punch and sharp. This has overall punch. I mean, this is absolutely coming at you at that 59%. But somehow it rolled around in my palate just a little nicer, a little more relaxed. Well, this is tough. These are both beautiful Laphroaigs. The Càirdeas Lore Cask Strength and the 10 at the sherry oak cask finish. In this sitting, I think I prefer the Lore. Let's clear the palate and take one final sip together. All right. It's wonderful. A little more brooding in the palate. I do like it more. It has a broader spice palette, a little bit of ginger, variety of nuts. I'm getting oranges in it. It just sits in my palate, even at 59%, especially now that I've had a couple of sips of whiskey, my palate's settled in. Sure, that's hot and there's some burn, but in the palate, it's actually less sharp than the 10-year-old. So, this is the first time having this, not the first time having the sherry. Actually, this was a gift from James. You're amazing. And this was a loan from James. You're still amazing. Hope you've got good whiskey friends in your life. And have you had either of these? Why don't you tell me your thoughts? Share them down below. Let's get a bit of a conversation going. I think, Canadian dollars, I know 160 is a lot. This is a good one.